Hi, how you doing? I'm doing pretty good. You can tell I'm kind of in a spring sort of a mood. I've got like as many bright colors on as I can. I'm denying the fact that it's going to snow this weekend, but it's almost March. So cultural appropriation. There is going to be a lot written on that. In fact, there's going to be too much written about that. Let me show you what I'm talking about. But first, well, no, let me show you what I'm talking about. Don't jump around, Dale. If you go to the library catalog and type in cultural appropriation. So I put it in quotes because I wanted to find those two words stuck together. So not cultural and appropriation separated, but those stuck together. And if I search through books, articles, and things like that, there's just tons and tons and tons and tons. This terminology has been around for a while, and people have been studying it for a long time. Long time being 40 years, I would say, is the core of it. So if you go to um, catalog, this might be a good lesson to narrow down. I'm gonna move my head because I want to see stuff on this side. Oh, it's so slow. Well, anyway, let me show you. I'll go over here. If you go out, I would encourage you to. I'll move my head back while the catalog is slowly loading. So the lot has been written about it. How do you narrow it down? And I was trying to find, and so you were saying, how do people profit from it, or how do people gain or put people at a disadvantage? I think this is a great topic, and you can go in and you can find some additional keywords that can help you narrow down. So defining it will be one thing. There's do's and don'ts. There's like a proper way of doing it. But look, that was published in 2015. It might be out of date. A lot underlined has happened in the last 4 years. But here's interesting bits to remember: dominant culture, minority culture. So this is where we can look at the advantage, or words like privilege, and all these other things. And how do you quantify advantage or profit? And so dominant culture might be an expression of inequity. And so equity could be a measurement of whether or not cultural appropriation is okay. But if we go back, yay, it's working. If we go back to the library catalog, oh, they even have like an opening thing. There's like tens of thousands of things, but you could go to, you could go to books. Books are going to be great because a lot of it's been going on. So there's ethics, there's art, there's concepts of ancestry, and so on. But here's another word: oppression. So privilege and oppression, minority culture, dominant culture. So there's some keywords that we have to work with. If you want to define more keywords, if you go on subject, you can see a whole bunch of different keywords on this. And here you can see racism. And so advantage, so why is a dominant culture dominant? So you could examine those things. Is it access to health care? Is it wages? Is it discrimination where people are being treated with violence? Or healthcare inequities? There's a whole bunch of inequities that you could look at and then cap it off with cultural appropriation. But here's a whole bunch of different things that you could look at. And so it might be helpful for you to go into a very specific cultural appropriation. But wait, there's more. It feels like an advertisement here. So let me show you what else would be an okay place to dig around. I'm going to close some tabs. I'm going to go to the library homepage. I'm going to move my head again. You can see my links, which is cool. It's fine. Okay, so there's a database that looks at many different ideas like this. And so under databases, there's one called, and I forget what it's called. It's something premium. Social Sciences Premium, Social Science Collection Premium. I never remember the name, so I just search for premium because I think it's a cheeky word to use. Our database is premium. So the more things that you look at, Social Science Premium Collection, the more things that you look at, the more you'll figure out ways that cultural appropriation is being described. And then it will give you more information, and you can discover more of those things that you might want to write about that are related to um, discrimination, dominant versus minority, and so on and so forth. But here's another great place to go. I thought I already did this. Apparently not. So let's add one of those keywords in there. Social Sciences Premium Collection looks at sociology, social work, psychology, some business, some economics. It's all over the place, and it's a great thing to look at because it might be pulled into all of these different ideas of equity, inequity, profit, disadvantage. Cultural appropriation, and let's do one of those keywords. So I'm going to do cultural appropriation because I want to find that, and then I want to find another set inside of the cultural appropriation. I'm going to do dominant culture because that was one that we saw in that Wikipedia definition. And here's a cool thing. You can look just in scholarly journals, so you don't have to mess around with all this other stuff. I didn't know that. That's handy. Everyone at my house must be on streaming video today. It's going so slow. 149, that's not bad, because that is potentially a list of titles that you could just go through. So what do you want to write about? This is your brainstorming tool where you could go through these and then save a few of these articles that interest you. What resonates with you? So Polish Indian hobbyists does not strike a chord with me. Cultural tolerance, an Asian artist. So I love art. I would like that one. So it talks about Aboriginal people. I love that native populations idea. Decolonization. Cultural struggle, Paiutes and Shoshone. I love looking at Aboriginal populations, like I said before. So you can see what populations are being talked about, and the stories in here might actually give you an idea of what to look at. I have a colleague who actually is from Sri Lanka. They might go, oh yeah, that's a good one. So you see how that goes. A lot of Native American stuff, which makes sense in the United States. When I grew up, there was a lot of cultural appropriation on TV. And it was done in the name of promoting Native American identity. But it was, if you look back on it, it was a bit of a... I don't want to swear. It was a bad idea. It didn't work out very well. You can also go into subject, and you'll see some of those minority and dominant culture things sorted as well. But I recommend going through the titles because those are going to give you more than just like these one words. So culture, politics, narratives. Narratives would be people's stories. So if you're allowed to do quantitative, narratives would be really great. Colonialism. So racism, gender, level of education, I suppose. There's violence. What else do we have? Music. Oh, music, of course. Conceptions of power. Dominant culture might be an unknown or tacit power exerted over minority cultures. So all sorts of different things you can go at. And each one of those you can go into before you download any or go into the main article. If something looks interest to you, go into just this main area and just read the abstract. And then if it's a good one, then you can download it. And I would say, if I recall, your class is supposed to find what, like six to something. So find 12 to double what that is, and then go in and read further. So here you can just read the abstract and you can see what they're talking about. Okay. This is only half an answer, so let me know how it goes, and I'm happy to help further. Have a lovely weekend.